So here's how much I love you guys. It's the day after Gen Con. It's the Monday after Gen Con, which I, every year, take the day off to recuperate, lay around the house, and not do much. What am I doing? Making a video for you to show you my booty. Not that booty. That's not what the stuff I brought home from Gen Con. Not all of it. Mainly the miniatures related stuff. I brought home some presents for people and stuff like that. You don't need to see that. But I'm going to be showing you some of the stuff that I brought home from Gen Con. And then next video will probably be a wrap up. But for right now, here's the booty that so many people seem to enjoy. You may notice my hat. It's called Fez, for those of you not know. It has a tassel. And I bought it on Thursday. I have a very large head. It's like the size of a piece of luggage, like a big piece of luggage. And generally, I don't find hats that fit. And I saw these fezzes and I thought they were very cool. And I said, what sizes do these come in? And she said up to 4X, which I don't know what size that is in fezzes, frankly. But she found one, she put it on my head. I thought it was cool. This is your, what do you call it there? Your Cthulhu elder sign. And got a little thing up here, a little skull that holds the tassel so it doesn't get in front of my face. And I wore it quite a bit during the convention. You might have seen it in some of my Instagram images or other things that showed up on Facebook. All right, you know how I love dice bags. Most conventions I go to, I have a tendency to buy a dice bag. I don't know why. I'm sure it's an illness. I found this one. It's kind of yellowy velvet. It's got a nice, friendly, red radioactive symbol on it. I can either use it to try to impress my opponents with the powerfulness of my dice, or I can put bad dice in here, and this will remind me to stay away from them because they've been naughty. I also stopped at the Mercs booth, and I purchased some Mercs tokens. Unfortunately, I only got the effect token set, but I bought 2 of them because it's got the blood drops and the wounds and the broken armor and stuff like that. They had another set there that they were out by the time I went. Here's a pro tip about Gen Con. If you see something at a booth and you think to yourself, boy, I think I kind of want that, buy it immediately. Do not dilly-dally. Seriously, like you will go, oh wow, that's really awesome. I think that's cool. I'll come check on it later and maybe pick it up then. It will be gone 9 times out of 10. It's just the way it works. Unless there's a pile that goes to the ceiling, you will most likely find yourself without at the end of the convention. So if you see something, pick it up. I walked by Mercs a couple of times. I didn't pick up both sets, so I ended up having to buy this. And I wanted the other ones, so I have to order them online or go to my local store and order them or whatever. But when you're at Gen Con, if you see it and you think you want it, or even if you definitely know you want it, but you're going to make another loop and come back, it'll be gone. Another thing I picked up, actually on the last day, because they did have enough left, but I didn't know about it until the last day, was the new Cityscape, which I guess was just announced during Gen Con from Drop Zone Commander. Now, I don't technically play Drop Zone Commander. I've seen a bunch of videos about it, and it seems pretty cool, but I currently have enough games. But this giant honking box here is about that thick. Remember, my head is the size of a luggage, so this is actually quite large. This will cover a 4x6 table with printed cardboard terrain, like the actual surface. And each of the tiles for this thing are double-sided, so they're very variable. You can make roads go on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different combinations. Plus, it comes with 20 buildings, skyscrapers, whatever, that come in here that you fold up, and you can glue them or not. But if you glue them, the guy showed me, then you can stack them, because they go inside each other and they work great. This is like a 6mm type terrain, so it'll work well with obviously Drop Zone Commander, but also with Battletech, if you were into that. I see myself down the road eventually doing a 6mm tank battle, really small little tanks, and being able to do a cool city thing. But this was $45 for all of this. This is 4x6 feet of terrain, double-sided, very variable, 20 buildings, $45. You can probably still get it at your local shop or get it any place where they sell stuff from Hawk Wargames, but it just came out of Gen Con and I saw it and I was like, yep, gotta pick it up. I also stopped by the Badger Airbrush booth, of course, because that's where most of the Wargamers Consortium people were. I met up with Chung, I met up with Oasis Rising, Michelle. I met up with Hugo, Hugo from Ichiban Studios, came all the way from Japan to Gen Con. That was awesome. Met him, talked with him. Got to meet up with the guys from miniwargaming.com, both Matt and Dave. That was cool. I'd never met them before. We'd communicated online a bit, and I have my videos up on their channel as well as a partner, but I'd never actually been able to meet them, so that was really cool. Terrainaholic, Bill and Sue, who I've known for quite some time, they were there. A whole bunch of us went out to dinner. But while I was at the Badger booth, I talked a little bit with Ken from Badger, and I bought the starter box, I guess we would call it, of Minotaur Ghost Tints. This was 20 bucks. There's what, 12 transparent airbrush paints in here, using for ghost tints. You've seen plenty of videos before about how these work, perhaps, if you're into airbrushing stuff. I'm planning on using these to great effect, and when I do, I'll probably make a video about it, just show you kind of how it works. Think of it like this. It's a lot like the washes that I used for my Malifaux guys, where I airbrushed the guys black, dusted them from above with almost white, and then I used the Secret Weapon Miniatures washes to cause the color, but it's still kind of transparent, so you get that, you know, highlight down to shadow. The trick is that with this, you can use the airbrush to actually put that wash on there, which means that you can then do it for vehicles or buildings, I guess, if you wanted to, but mainly vehicles and lots of troops. This would be actually quite perfect. Another thing that's great about conventions is, of course, the bit sellers, things that are very difficult to find. A lot of these things I've shown you, you can get at your local store if you order it, or if you have it in stock, you can get it through the online retailers, through the manufacturer or whoever. But sometimes some things are really hard to find, especially for really good deals. I stopped at the War Store booth at one point, and I was able to buy a bunch of these. These are the weird produced 30mm bases, but in the kind of bright, translucent, kind of see-through colors, and usually use these for markers. I bought these, blue, purple, green, and yellow, $2 a piece for these packages. That's a great deal. From the same place, the War Store, I also bought this package of stuff from Secret Weapon Miniatures. These are like chunks, resin chunks of busted up, broken like Greek columns that you can use to spread on maybe your bigger bases, like if you've got a big 60mm base for like a dreadnought or some other kind of large creature, or you can use it if you're building terrain. And this was like $9, you know. I didn't really see these necessarily at the Secret Weapon store that was there in the Cool Mini or Not booth. I walked by, talked to Mr. Justin for a little bit, but it's just, you know, you're there and you're buying stuff in the War Store and you find things and you buy them and get to use them, and it's a great place to be able to pick up good deals. The War Store is a great place for that. So is a guy who I think just mainly goes by the Bits Guy. He's at Adepticon every year. He's been at Gen Con for as long as I can remember, and he just sells mainly miniatures bits. It's got huge pins. You just dig through the bins and you find the stuff you're looking for. I bought some simple terrain. I bought this, you know, if you've been playing 40K for a while, you recognize this. This is a ruined plastic corner of a cathedral thing. Came in, I think, the starter set for 4th edition. It's always nice to have another one of these. This one's actually not half bad, sort of, kind of painted, so you'll see the table soon. And then I bought a couple of these Necromunda Bunkers, mainly because I wanted to take impressions of some of the parts to use them in bases. If I can make a piece of green stuff that sits in the base that looks like a buried part of this, then I don't have to actually cut this up and use it over and over again. Maybe I'll be able to make a video to show you what I'm talking about sometime in the future. I also stopped at the Cool Mini or Not booth and talked to the guys from Dark Age. Now, I've talked to them before for the videos I did for Beasts of War. I own the core book and the faction book and the devastation book, and I own 2 of the factions. Not played as much as I would like, but they came out with a new version of the rules just recently. Whole new core rules. Now, I bought that core rule book 2 years ago, and all of a sudden now there's a new one. So I'm like, well, that's not cool. But I talked to friends of mine who know a lot about the stuff at Dark Age, and they know people who work there and volunteers, and they said, no, just bring in your old Dark Age book and they'll swap it out and give you a new one for free. So I took my old one with me to Gen Con, and I swapped it for this one for free. Do other companies do that? I know Games Workshop certainly doesn't do that. If they switch something up really quick, which granted they don't switch things up very quickly, but if they did, they wouldn't give you a discount, or they certainly wouldn't give you one for free. But these guys did, so that was really cool. Look for those kind of things online before you go to a convention like that, because otherwise you got to ship it to them and then they got to ship it back, and that's a pain. But if you can just take it with you to Gen Con, say, here you go, and they give you the new one, that's a great deal, frankly. And I'm pretty impressed by the company for doing this. Lastly, and you've probably been wondering, Adam, you've been talking a lot about Malifaux lately in a lot of your videos. Didn't you get anything for Malifaux? I got some things for Malifaux. 2.0 book, second edition, new Malifaux book. Can't get it in stores yet, but I was able to pick it up. One of the reasons I was able to pick it up was because, again, I went on Thursday and got it as soon as possible, because by middle of Friday, from what I understand, these were gone. And they brought way more than they thought they would ever need to be able to sell, and they went through all of them. Malifaux, in my opinion, is exploding. It's getting huge. So this is a really great thing. I've been going through it. The artwork, in comparison to the 1.5 book, leaps and bounds. Astounding. Me being an art nerd, that's the first thing I noticed just flipping through it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to really digging into this and getting more into it. But I was really glad to be able to get in line. I didn't get in line right away Thursday morning, but before noon, I had my book. I also had a couple other things. Because they're switching over from from 1.5 to 2, they need to redo all the cards. All the cards that come with the figures need to be redone, so they have these new things called arsenal packs. This one is for Resurrectionists, and this one's for the Outcasts. Both of my crews that I've built so far are Outcasts, but I've always been wanting to go into Resurrectionists. Well, now I've got cards for both factions. What you do with this is you either replace your old cards from 1.5 and be able to keep the same miniature for now, because they haven't released all of the miniatures now in 2.0. They've released some of the new miniatures in the new plastics, but you've probably still got some old metal ones. Now you don't have to figure out what to do with the card. You just grab this, you've got a new card, use the same miniature, you're set. Plus it allows you to proxy. If you're thinking about using a new character, a new figure in your army, you can just take any old miniature as long as it's the same size and say, oh, it's this guy, and use the card, and you know whether you want to buy it or not. It's a great deal. These were like $8 a piece, and you could have bought all of them, but I just only wanted to buy the ones for my army, or my armies, actually, my factions. Speaking of factions, I also bought, this is the new Victorias set. Hired Swords is what it's called, but it's the new Victorias set. Comes with both the Victorias, amazing looking sculpts in plastic, and it also comes with 3 Ronin, and it comes with Taylor, and it comes with the Student of Conflict. All of them completely new sculpts, all done in plastic. They look amazing. I'm going to try to work in some graphics here so you can kind of see some close-ups, some stuff I can take from the website, hopefully. But I think that I'm really looking forward to painting them, and even though I just got done with my Victorias seriously like 2 weeks ago, I'm probably going to be able to start painting these, hopefully before too late, before the end of the summer. In my spread to a second faction, the Resurrectionists, boom, we've got ourselves the Sheamus Crew, which is now known as Shadows of Redchapel, but that's basically just the Sheamus Crew. You've got Sheamus, you've got the Copycat Killer, the little totem guy, and again, I'm going to see some graphics here. He comes now with 3 Rotten Bells, and also Madame Cybele, who used to just be a weird-looking sculpt. She was just like, because she's kind of, tubby and stuff, but she's wearing this weird bustier, and she's got this funny mask on, and she just used to look, I don't know, just weird. I didn't like the old sculpt. This new one's kind of amazing looking. All of these sculpts, in my opinion, are amazing looking, and I'm really looking forward to just the new plastics. They're very, very fine in that you have to be very careful, even just cutting them off the sprue. There's tiny, tiny little parts and pieces, so be very careful if you're working on these guys. But know that when you are finished, you are going to get yourself something that looks, again, really, really excellent. Very fine, fine detail, but amazing, especially if you paint it right. Lastly, our 2 convention exclusives. They're things that were only for sale, I believe, during the week of Gen Con online. I think you can still get at least one of these things online, and the other way to do it was to buy it at the convention. The other thing that I'm going to be showing you was only a giveaway. You got it for free if you bought $100 worth of stuff, which I certainly did. This is the Herald of Obliteration. This is the new Terra crew for, she's both Outcasts and also Resurrectionists. See, works perfectly because that's the 2 factions I have. Here she comes out, exclusive. You can only get her at Gen Con. And she's it was expensive. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, like the other ones, these other 2 boxes were like $40 a piece for your crew, and this one was like 80. But again, I'm going to try to show you the artwork. It looks amazing, and this is going to be a big deal. And again, we could only really get it at Gen Con or during the week of Gen Con online. So if you're seeing this real close after I shoot it up onto the YouTubes, you might still be able to go online and buy it, but I'm not 100% sure. It looked like it was still for sale a couple hours ago when I was grabbing the graphics for this bit, but yeah, I don't know. Huge giant sculpts, big huge nothing beast in here, and I'm really looking forward to painting that and seeing how that works out. The other thing, if you bought $100 worth of stuff, you got Misstep. Misstep is a Steamborg executioner. She's this sort of lady with long mechanical looking claws, and she's on spider legs, which is always good, I guess. I don't know. It seems spooky, really, but I think that's the whole point. She's part of Arcanists, I believe, because she's got purple in there. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with her. I might just paint her up for funsies. We'll see how that goes. Or it might be a situation where it's one of those things where maybe I don't want to put it on eBay. I think if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to try to paint it up for fun and put it in my cabinet. But who knows? Maybe down the road, third faction. Hard to say, but maybe that's why they do this kind of thing. I don't know. So that's pretty much the majority of the booty that you would probably be interested in as a miniatures wargamer. I also bought a couple of books. I bought some comic books for a friend. I bought a t-shirt for my wife. I didn't buy any t-shirts for myself this year, which is strange because I usually do, but I withheld because I spent a little bit more money on a couple other things, which I'm actually going to use more as opposed to just another nerd shirt, which Lord knows I have a lot of. That's pretty much it. It was a fun time, and I could have brought home, honestly, so much more, but you can only play so many games at once, really. And man, there are so many games out there, but really, this is the stuff that I kind of wanted to focus on. Granted, here and there was a little like, oh yeah, no, I really should get that, like the giant, cityscape thing made out of cardboard, but that was just a really good deal. If you can make it to Gen Con sometimes, you'll find deals like that, I think, and I think you'll probably have a pretty good time.